Hey everybody, it's Michael Bovey, your debt settlement expert here at Resolve, and I want to talk to you about what makes us different. We'll call it the Resolve difference. Well, the debt relief services industry is pretty big. It includes everybody that helps people with bankruptcy. It includes all of the nonprofit credit counseling agencies around the country. There's about 80 of them around the country, most of them national firms. And then all the debt settlement. And there's some weird companies out there doing weird stuff. But the three mainstream options are debt management plans through the nonprofits, filing Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and settling your debt for less. Well, at Resolve, we focus on all of them. That's already different because most of the service providers that do bankruptcy don't do debt management plans, don't do debt settlement. Most of the debt management plan providers don't really do any kind of reduced payment options. There's some pilot programs, but they're never really gotten off the ground. And then there's debt settlement, and they don't really do bankruptcy. They don't really do debt management plans. Well, Resolve is a technology company that is focused on educating you about all of your options, all three of those, and sometimes doing nothing because actually that's an option for some of us at some point. So what's different in how we go about helping people determine which of these three or four options are going to be most suited to their circumstances is that we dedicate free time. We have this algorithm that's super smart and it understands your state, where you live, how much you make, how many people in your household, how much equity you have in your home, and kind of can tell you whether Chapter 7 is going to work or not. That doesn't replace talking to an attorney, so I do want to encourage you to reach out to a practicing attorney in your area, somebody with experience in bankruptcy, 5 years or more. They'll probably have seen everything by then, so they can advise you. But then we talk about debt management plans and the affordability of that. And we can help you just without ever talking to somebody, determine whether or not a debt management plan is workable for you, just by the inputs you put in your profile. And then there's settlement. Settlement is a process for debt relief that does not live inside of a box like bankruptcy. Everything has to fit in these four corners. You can't color outside the lines. And then in a debt management plan, it's the same thing. It's not in court, and it's very hands-off, very non-confrontational, and almost on autopilot. It's the kindest, gentlest, softest version of debt relief. But again, it has to fit inside this box, and you can't wander outside the lines. You can either do it or you can't do it financially, and that's it, right? Debt settlement is more nuanced, and it has flexibilities missing from all of your other debt relief options. It's just that it's confrontational. You're not paying your creditors, and because of that, there's consequences. You have to determine, one, if you can afford them, and if you can't, and you're watching this video, and you might already be late and the ship sailed, right? It's going to be either bankruptcy or debt settlement anyway. But with debt settlement, there's a lot of latitude. I've talked in other videos about lining up resources and timing. Banks are very predictable with their recovery, collection types of processes. Debt buyers, large ones, are really the only ones left these days. And they're also fairly predictable. Law firms want what they want when they're trying to collect from you too. Collection agencies can be a moving target, these contingency collectors around the country. You might deal with one contingency collector and get one deal, and the next one that gets that same account, it's a totally different deal sometimes. So there's some nuances to that. Having said all of that, debt settlement isn't rocket science. It's just that there's a formula to follow to get where you're going, to reach your goals in the fastest, least expensive, lowest risk way. And so our algorithm that you've built your settlement profile in, it's designed to help you do that without even talking to a human, right? You can engage in the process. You can start saving, depositing money for settlements. You can push your file out to a negotiator, a partner in our network, and get work done. These are things that are not subtle. They're very upfront lobe, kind of like frontal lobe differences up across what is normally a pretty salesy type of experience, right? You're on the phone with a bankruptcy attorney and all he wants to do is talk to you about bankruptcy. Is there something wrong with that if you qualify? No, not really. Why should he talk about somebody else's business, something he doesn't do? I get it, right? But it's missing from the dialogue usually. And you're on the phone with a debt management plan provider and They're telling you if they can work with you, and they're focused on what they can do for you, not what somebody else is going to be able to do for you. And so here at Resolve, we're focused on all of your options, and we connect you with really good providers, partners in the Resolve network. Now, what gets to be very different, exceedingly different when it comes to the debt settlement space, again, because there's all that flexibility and that nuance based on your circumstances. Most of the debt settlement industry charges you 20 to 25% of what you owe, your debt load that you bring into their program. It does not matter if they do a good job, a terrible job, they're going to get paid the same amount of money because it's based on a percentage of what you owe, right? And that's a high fee to begin with. But as you start to look at how you start settling debt, they grab their fee before they move on to the next one. And now it took you longer to do the next settlement. And maybe by the third one, you're looking at risks of being sued, right? Because money went towards settlement like it's supposed to, but then the fee, which everybody does really. But when the fee's that high, it takes you longer to clear that hurdle, the fee hurdle, before you can move on to the next debt. So what makes Resolve remarkably different is the fee is based on savings. So it's 15% of savings. All of the providers in the network cap their fees at 15% of savings. And so it's already lower by nature of it's based on savings. So the goal here would be to save you the most money to increase the fee, because 15%, if they charge 20% of what you owe, they don't have to try any different. They're going to get paid regardless of the result, the outcome. 15% of savings means the more I save you, the more I earn, right? So the motivations are aligned, yours and the negotiation partner. But 15% of savings is quite a departure from how much the typical service provider in the debt settlement industry charges. Now, those are very stark differences, but there's a couple of other things I want to point out. So even just in our algorithm, before you've ever talked to a human or somebody like me, an expert comes in and reviews your file and, kind of maneuvers accounts around to make sure that your risk weighting is reducing risk of being sued. The algorithm itself is pretty smart and is designed to help you get a picture of who's first, second, third, fourth, fifth because of that risk weighting and maximizing who's going to save you the most. Where can you get the most bang for your available settlement dollar if there were no risk, right? And so we're already trying to give you an understanding of here's what you're up against, and it looks pretty difficult because you're trying to build a 5-year settlement program, which isn't great, never, or how effective this will be for you because we're building a settlement program that, because you're already way late enough, maybe you're bounced back fast enough or you're getting some help from whatever resource. And look, you'll be done with this in 60 days, 30 days, 90 days. So we're giving you a lot of information and an understanding as to the journey that you're on that debt settlement path, all of the paths really, because we're all about education and understanding. And so those are just some things that I wanted to share in a video format. You find me all over the internet and all over our Resolve site. And we're giving you tidbits and everything. But I just wanted to deliver my personal message as one of the founders here at Resolve as to what makes us different. And honestly, it really boils down to a couple of ingredients as well. And we care. I give a rip about you getting information to the point that you're prepared to make an informed decision about which debt relief option or which debt relief path you're going to walk down. And I do not care which one it is, as long as it's the right one. See you on the next video.